All right, so let's begin with a 3-minute breathing space. And let me also say welcome to this week 5 of our mindful well-being in uncertain times. So again, remember we can do this in response to a stressor or just routinely, just to kind of help us to check in with ourselves. So just find a position that's comfortable. You don't have to close your eyes, but you can if that's helpful. And just checking in with yourself, kind of asking yourself, how am I doing? Really, and really answering that question, how am I doing right now? What's my experience at 9:02 on this Friday morning? And noticing what thoughts come up when you ask yourself that question. Thoughts, feelings, and body sensations. So first, just noticing thoughts. Seeing if you can just notice them arise and be there a bit and then perhaps dissolve. And you don't have to engage with a thought. See if you can step back from it and just notice thoughts come and go. And then in the same way with feelings, noticing your emotional state. What feeling or feelings are present right now? And again, not needing to respond to it or fix it, but just noticing. And then being aware of the body and how is the body doing right now? What do you notice as you do a quick scan? Is there areas of tension or ease and relaxation, or what? What do you notice? Just sensing into the body, bringing yourself to this moment through the body. And then we turn to our breathing and taking a moment to focus in on the breath and just allowing the breath to be natural and relaxed. Establishing it as an anchor to this moment. Feeling the gentle sensations, the flow in and out. And if the mind wanders, just returning to the anchor of the breath. And then expanding your awareness to sense the whole body sitting here. So noticing the posture, noticing perhaps the facial expression, being aware of the whole body, breathing, maybe sensing the space around the body. So that you're not zeroing in on a breath or anything or a feeling or a thought, but really being aware in a very open, expansive way. And then bringing this open awareness to the next activities of your day. So that's a 3-minute breathing space. So let's just open it up, and you can either use the chat or let me know how it's going. And oh, by the way, and I've got some of you who tuned in before 9 as present. Hopefully you're all present, pardon the pun. But for those of you who came in at 9 or after, just put in the chat feature that you're here. But also put in a note, a word or two about how it's been going this past week. Last week we introduced the emotion meditation, trying to be more aware of emotions as they are present. but also the equanimity. Remember, trying to get that sense of balance and even-mindedness, even in the sense of turbulence. And I thought the eye, the hurricane, I don't know if you got a chance to try that. I sent that midweek as a way to kind of establish that calm presence, even though there are turbulence around us, which these days seems to be the norm, right? All right, so we've got a few in the chat here. Few good mornings here. Doing okay. Thank you for checking in. Okay. Any specific experiences with the meditations that anybody would like to share? You can either speak up or use the chat. And also just how's it going? Are you finding time? You know, we're in our 5th week. Are you being able to get in a few minutes on hopefully a daily basis to practice this stuff? To be mindful, to be aware of what's going on in the moment?
Yeah, like I was saying, Bud, that this past week, I definitely was able to carve out time almost every day to practice. Most of it was mindfulness and trying to get, you know, that feeling of either anxiety or thoughts that are not beneficial. Using mindfulness was a great tool for me this week.
Good. Thank you, Tara. Appreciate that. And that, you know, that's part of it. You bring up a good point that when we tune in to what's going on, we also tune into the parts of life that are not that comfortable. So noticing that and noticing our judgments about that and what kind of what we're saying to ourselves about that. And trying not to be judgmental about that, trying to just notice it as it is. I'm going to mute you all just so there's background noise. And so if you want to speak up, just unmute yourself. So let's see, Monica, I'm meditating regularly, but noticing my mind extremely distracted. Yeah, you know, this is a very, very distracting time of year, not to mention just all the stuff that's going on with the pandemic, but the holidays, and happy Hanukkah, by the way, for any of you folks who are celebrating that. And Christmas is just around the corner, and the new year, hopefully the new year brings new, better stuff, but hey, you never know, right? So easy to be distracted. And so the practice simply is every time you notice yourself distracted, even going about your business, just bring yourself back to the breath or the body. Notice your feet on the floor. Just really use an anchor like that. Even if the thoughts are very distracting and even intrusive, you know, you can come back and you can let go of those. Still a challenge to make time, Becky says, for formal. It is. It's hard. So I just encourage you to keep trying on that. I did send out that mindfulness plan. I want to ask you how that, if you, oh no, wait a second now, I didn't do that. I'm going to send you that. I'm thinking of the other class. So I'm going to send you a mindfulness plan, just simply a sheet of paper, so you can map out what you plan to do, because I've given you a lot. And so you can sort of choose what are some of the things formally that you like to do or that seem to work for you, and when are you going to do it, how are you going to do it, you know, kind of write that down. And then what are the informal things? And you'll see it's just kind of a nice way to kind of figure out what you're going to do going forward. Yeah, need to be more conscious of setting time. Yeah, you really got to be intentional about that. Maybe when the first thing when you wake up in the morning, just say, okay, when's a good time for me today to take 5 minutes and do a meditation? Okay, but good. Noticing how more mindful you are in everyday activities. Good, excellent. So keep that up too. Making time daily to practice. Good, Cindy. Very good. Definitely seeing and feeling the decreased level of anxiety. Great. So it's really nice to notice when it has a good outcome, and that, of course, keeps us going. My mind is all over the place. Yeah, they call that monkey mind, and that's pretty common. Our minds do that to us, and that's part of their function. So keep trying, we're training that monkey mind. We're trying to get it to settle down. We can't get rid of thoughts. They're always there, but we're trying to at least lessen the autopilot that comes up. Haven't done a good job with mindful movement this week, but finding time to carve out space to listen. Good. Well, and that's always a good counterbalance, sitting, being still, but also having mindful movement. To me, in my practice, that's one of the best, doing both. I like to start the day off with some mindful movement and stretching. I enjoy it at night. Yeah, night's a great time sometimes. Not sure if you saw my message earlier. Oh, good. Thank you. I did. And I missed it. I found the mountain metaphor from last time to be very, very helpful. Remembering a time when you were strong in the past. And by the way, there's a whole meditation on a mountain imagery. So you might want to try that. You'll see that in the list of meditations. There's another nice metaphor is a tree metaphor, where you can imagine yourself rooted, but a tree kind of having flexibility and being able to sway in the winds of change, in the turbulent winds that we're in. So sometimes metaphors like that can be helpful. Great. Thank you all very much for sharing that. One more key to more time is an appreciation of being. Yes, and not just doing. We're all driven by to-do lists and objectives and lose sight of how helpful it is to just be in the moment. Yeah, very true. Very, very, very true. And that's what it is all about, trying to find times between the doing that we are doing all the time and just be. Great. So remember to try to find that balance between the formal activities and the informal if you can. That's always a great way. That's why I like the balance between the movement and the formal sitting. And, just keep going, keep doing the best you can. And as I say, write down when they send you the plan what you're going to do going forward. Because we have one more class after this. And I do plan to have a follow-up class after that, maybe about a month down the road. All right, so did you learn to surf a little bit? Hopefully you learned that, by doing these things, we can be a little bit more in control of the waves, or how we respond to the waves that come. And instead of feeling so tossed about, we can feel like we're maybe at least learning to dive beneath a wave or to body surf a little bit, okay? This quote I'm putting in here because today we're talking more about mindfulness at work, and of course that includes being aware of other people and how we're communicating with them. And I do have a video later. I won't be able to show it today, but I'm going to point it out and want you to watch it if you have time. But the bottom line here, of the quote by the Buddha, if you know something helpful and true, find the right time to say it. Right speech is what they call it, right communication, being careful in our words, being careful in what we'll be talking about later is really in how we really listen. And do we really listen? Do we listen with both ears to other people? All right, but really today we're going to be talking also about, I think, the challenge of how do we integrate this into our daily work life. And since, work takes up a big part of our day, 5 days a week, probably for most of us, how do we do that? And it's hard because, we get so wrapped up into work and we feel the pressure and the deadlines and the load. But I like this quote: no matter how much pressure you feel at work, if you could find ways to relax for at least 5 minutes every hour, you'd be more productive. And the research really does show that if you can find times to take breaks on a regular basis, hourly would be fantastic. Even if it's just a 30-second pause to check in, or that 3-minute breathing space, or just 3 deep breaths, and, switching gears just for a moment from doing to being, that can be very helpful. And I think you'll find that you will be more productive. So I like Dilbert, and so what we know is that there are so many distractions, as you brought up before. And one of the distractions is our cell phone. So I like this cartoon. Studies say people are losing their ability to focus because of all the digital distractions. And the other fella, sorry, what? Because he's looking at his phone. And then Dilbert, hold on. And he's got his own cell phone sending him a beep. And the other guy, what were you saying? I don't know. Probably wasn't important. And that just, to me, exemplifies how we are so distracted, many of us walking around with our phones in front of us. And yes, they can be useful tools. I'm not saying they're not, but it really kind of throws off our communications, and it also distracts us. Remember that study I mentioned before that they found out through us, and they actually used cell phones in the study, and they would ping people periodically, randomly throughout the day and say, are you paying attention to what you're doing? And 47% of the time, people were not paying attention to what they were doing in the moment. And then they also found out that people usually weren't that happy in the moment when their minds were wandering. So, what we're doing with this mindfulness practice is really just simply training our attention to be more aware in the moment and to help us take control of that. And so that we can do this, so that we can experience peace in the moment. Doesn't mean our life is always going to be peaceful or blissful. Most of us are not monks living in a retreat or a mountainside or something like that, but we're living daily life at work, and it's very hard. But this is where the rubber meets the road. We got to find ways to integrate this in so that we can tap into that blissful state. And here are a couple of possibilities. I know a lot of us aren't driving as much anymore, but if you are driving at all for work or for chores that you need to do, see if you can bring some mindfulness to driving. Now, there is a meditation on this when you go into that page where all the meditations are, and you can listen to it. But it's really, really quite simple. All you really simply do is bring attention to the driving as if for the first time, bringing that beginner's mind to the driving experience. So, when it's really kind of slowing things down. So when you get in the car, well, first of all, before you even get in the car, just noticing, opening up the door and what that feels like. And as you get in, seating yourself and feeling that, the body connecting with the seat and your feet, in the well there where the brake and the accelerator are. And then just, putting the seatbelt on and putting the key in the ignition, slowing down and really paying attention to each movement carefully. And then when you finally start driving, just being very aware of the experience of driving, the movement of the car, the sounds, and looking at things, maybe perhaps if it helps taking a different route and looking at things differently so that you're really observing things quite differently. This can be a great way to integrate it into your daily life. And it's, we all have to drive somewhere usually at times, and it's the same thing as walking, so it's an excellent way to do this mindfully with a different perspective and noticing, how fast you're going, noticing all the thoughts that come up because other drivers are, doing things that we don't like and doing things to us and not driving as good as we are. All those little judgments that come up are ways that you can bring some mindfulness to the experience. Then there's a transition ritual at the end of the workday, and all I really mean by this is find some ritual that you can do at the end of the day that signifies that your workday is over And it doesn't have to be long. It could be something you already do, like changing out of your work clothes, or putting on some music, listening to a particular song, or if you are driving over a particular bridge, or when you get in the car, starting the car up. Whatever it is, try to find something that you can literally say to yourself, okay, workday's over, let it go, and I'm going to let the stress of the day go as well, and move on and be mindful right now of what I'm doing. So rather than replaying the day and going over things in our mind, which we often do, just letting that go and paying attention to the next moment as we move into the next part of our day. There are also mindful pauses at work. Remember, we've done 3 breaths for a pause. Very simple. Feel the breath itself, feel the body. Remember to be kind to yourself. That's all you got to do. The 2-minute pause is an actual, it's on the list of meditations if you want to try it, but it's pretty much the same. Basically, it's paying attention to the body, it's paying attention to the breath, it's bringing them together so that we're being aware as we're breathing of the body, and then maybe sending a message to yourself. Like I think in this one, it says something like, imagine the breath has a calming and uplifting effect. So, that's a great way to just take a quick pause. And so you need to look for these transition points where you can do this. And they're there. Just keep looking for them so that you can try some of these things throughout the day. If you have a lot of meetings, you might try approaching the meeting. There's also a meditation for this. And all it really is instead of letting your mind go off on autopilot again about the meeting or about what's going on in your life, try to take a few moments, bring yourself through a pause, a purposeful pause into the moment. Think about the agenda. Think about what you would like to say. Think about how you're going to be present in the meeting and how you're going to be more in an open, receptive state, a curious state, a state of discovery so that you can listen to others. And, that's just a different perspective on how we normally do meetings, right? And then taking breaks. And, the problem with taking breaks is that most of us don't really find the time. It's hard to find the time. But that's what I want you to think about. What you can do is, how can you proactively plan a couple of breaks? And usually what the problem that most of us encounter is that we don't think about taking a break until we're feeling exhausted, until we're feeling kind of burnt. So we need to drag ourselves away preemptively before we're depleted. So you might try blocking out a couple of planned breaks, if that would be helpful. Putting it on your calendar or sending yourself a reminder. Time to take a break. Even if 15 minutes would be fantastic, but even if you've only got 5 minutes, that's a perfect time. Send yourself a little ping and take 3 to 5 minutes to do one of these exercises. Stepping back so that your focus gets more relaxed, because usually we can be very focused and tense, and that takes a lot of brain energy. So try to let your mind rest. Keep doing some movement, taking a walk, go stretching, going for, with a coworker, doing something as a snack or a cup of coffee, if you can. If you're working at home and you're isolated or by yourself, maybe calling a coworker, maybe doing a quick Zoom or Skype just to say hi and see their face is a great way to do that. And then here's the trick is, after you do these things, see if you can just notice the energy, tune into yourself, and hopefully you notice that you feel a little more invigorated, a little more refreshed. And that will help you to do it again going forward. So the question is not whether breaks are worth taking. We know they are. They are, but it's hard to get it in. So, we want to do what we can to ensure that we do them. So if I were to give you a break right now, 15 minutes, I wish I could, what would you do? Pick one of these and maybe put it in the chat feature. Get right back to work. Maybe that's something that you feel you have to do. That's okay. Work on the to-do list, figure out what you need to do. Take care of bodily needs, take a walk, call a family member, plan a fun activity, or find a quiet spot and do a mindful activity. I'm not going to say you should or you should always do that one. Whoops, let me go back. But I think that's one of the best ones. Try to do a mindful activity in your break. But let's see what some of the things are that you put in here. So take a walk, get outside. Very good. A couple of walks. Play with my granddaughter. There you go. Excellent. Yeah. Or even just look at a picture of a grandchild or child or puppy or kitten or something like that. Get more coffee. Yeah. We do have to refresh ourselves. Close eyes mentally, go to the beach and just breathe. That's a nice one. To Becky, take a walk. Good. Yeah. Get outside, so great. So these are great choices. And remember, try to be intentional when you do this. When you take that break, say, okay, I'm going to really try to pay attention to this break and what feels nourishing to me right now, because that's what's really going to help. What feels nourishing? All right, good. So those are good choices. Now, the question is to put them into place, to be intentional and plan to do these. Okay, so I want to hear next week some of the breaks that you're taking. But here are some of the other ways that you can take pauses during the day. These little times where we're waiting, to hit send, or maybe rereading that email, taking a deep breath as we're doing it. Use a password that reminds you to be mindful. Breathing mindfully while we're waiting, for something to log in, those times when the computer decides it's going to take a break itself. Anytime you're waiting, just feel your feet on the ground, feel your breath, feel your body in the chair, stand up and stretch. Great opportunities. Noticing your body, as I just said, your posture, and tune into your breathing. And again, use the phone to help you. Send yourself a reminder. Whatever works. Insight Timer will send you a reminder. That's a lot of the apps have that feature. So, try some of those. And there's lots of other ones too. I'll send you a couple of other handouts when I send the slides that have more suggestions on this. But what happens is, with all the stuff that's going on at work and in life, it can be very, very overwhelming, and it can feel like this, right? It can feel like all the thoughts, all the worries, all the concerns, all the to-dos just get to be really, really heavy. So the meditation we're going to do today is called Taking the Weight Off Your Mind. And there is a meditation on the list that has this, and I think there's even a holiday meditation that you might want to try that is based on this same practice. So let's do the meditation. As usual, find a position that's comfortable for you. Bring yourself to a position that's relaxed, at ease, but also where you can be alert and awake. Finding that balance of relaxed attentiveness. You might drop your shoulders, relax your hands. And you might try wiggling your fingertips and toes and let tension sort of release out of the fingertips and toes as you do this. Or you might, bring the shoulders up to the ears and, in other words, tense them a bit and then relax them. Anything that can help to relax and release a little tension right now. So what we're starting is we're getting out of the mind and into the body. Sensing your legs, your feet, imagining tension drain out through the lower half of your body, right out of your toes and your feet. Because sometimes our brains can become overloaded with thoughts, and these thoughts go round and round. And we might even have conversations about events that we review from the past and we replay them. Or we imagine things in the future that we project conversations or scenarios, multiple scenarios sometimes, where we try to fix things or right or wrong, rehearse things. And what we plan to say can go round and round in our heads, and these can be sort of like a waterfall of thoughts. Sometimes we can step back like we did the thought meditations called seeing the waterfall, but they can interrupt our sleep and occupy our minds and keep us from being focused and creative. And they can feel like a heavy load on the shoulders. So we want to try to let go and clear them out. And our meditations can help us do this. And we can, as we learned in the thought meditation, we can identify thoughts and we can learn to choose which thoughts we allow and put our attention on and which we let go of. So the first thing we'll do in the meditation now is breathe together. We're going to use a breathing technique to kind of carry the thoughts away and let them go. So first, just establish a nice, easy rhythm to the breath. Just let the breath breathe itself. Feel the breath coming in and out of the body. Now, we're going to take a couple of deep breaths. So imagine the breath starting in your belly, way down below your navel. And as you breathe, the breath comes up through the diaphragm, through your chest, into your neck and head. And as you breathe out, let the out-breath be longer than the in-breath, and then let the breath carry those thoughts out of your head, down through the neck, chest, belly, and all the way down through your legs and feet and out of the toes. Okay, so let's try that a few times. Breathe in deep from the belly, breath coming up into the head, carrying away those thoughts right on down through the body, back down into the legs and feet, letting them go, drain right out of the feet. Do that 2 or 3 more times on your own. Allowing the body to relax and soften as you do so. Letting the breath carry them away and letting them go, releasing them right out of the body. Leaving you with a relaxed, peaceful feeling of calm and ease. And just notice what that feels like. And now we're going to use a repetitive phrase. We've done this before, but we'll just use the phrase be calm. So we'll use be on the in-breath and calm on the out-breath. Just breathe naturally and easily. Be calm. And just kind of say that to yourself in a gentle, easy way. Be calm. Feeling the breath still. And if you want to use other words, there are other words that you might prefer, that's fine. And repeating this a few times to yourself. And now a third technique is bringing to mind the source of your upset or thoughts. And we're going to send that person or event or situation a positive message. So imagine a beam of light, and care coming from your own heart to that person or event. And you can use the phrase, may you be well, may you be safe, may you be at peace. So imagining this beam of caring light emanating from your heart, going out to that person, saying to yourself, may you be well, may you be safe, may you be at peace. And now bringing the light back to you, and may say to yourself, may I be well, may I be safe, may I be at peace. So let's do that, sending it out to the situation or the person. May you be well, may you be safe, may you be at peace. Bringing it back to yourself, may I be well, may I be safe, may I be at peace. And now the last one we'll try is, if the thoughts that are there that you notice are about a future event or an interaction that you're rehearsing or an imagined dialogue, go out into the future and imagine that interchange. And after what has to be said is said, imagine a really successful outcome. And every time what you want to say comes back into your mind, just think about that successful outcome. Try that now. Imagining this future dialogue, bringing up what you want to say, what needs to be said, and imagining a successful outcome. Picturing it, sensing it, visualizing it. And now bring your body, the awareness rather, back into your body. And feel your feet on the floor, grounding yourself. Feel your body in the chair. Feel your breath. Take another deep breath. And on the out breath, you can slowly open the eyes as we finish that taking the weight off your mind meditation. All right, so hope you found that helpful. There were a few different things in there. One of them was a message of kindness, and next week actually we'll do some loving kindness meditation, and we'll do similar kinds of phrases. But we also just let things drain out of our body in the beginning. We carried them out with our breath. We carried the thoughts out of the body, let them drain out. We visualized a light, kind of like sending that light to that person or situation. So what was that like? Any thoughts, any comments? Again, you can speak up if you'd like, or use the chat. Just curious how that landed with you.
Well, I'm going to say at the very beginning when we were just doing the deep breaths in and out, my brain was just going in so many different directions of what I have to do today. But once we started to say and say be well and focus on the be well, then I was able to kind of, release those thoughts.
Good.
But apparently I can't just breathe without thinking of something.
Well, I mean, it's such a good point. You can't stop your thinking. So find now that maybe that gives you a clue to what will work. First of all, allow a little bit of time for the mind to settle. But second of all, like maybe that particular technique really did work for you, and using words to focus your attention, and that kind of maybe will crowd out in a sense, or let the thoughts that are going on settle down.
Right. That's what it appeared to have happened.
Good.
Yes.
Very nice. Thank you, Tara. So we got a few very relaxing comments. Good. Surprisingly relaxing. Great. Calming and empowering. Good. Very nice. So good. Well, that's one that you can try. This week you can try that one. Let me go forward here. Don't forget the informal practices. One more, the visualization of a positive ending and the future event or your plan is a proven, powerful practice. Yeah, that is very proven. It's used in a lot of different ways of performance, overcoming performance anxiety, or just visualizing the outcome you would like to see. So yeah, you might try that. But don't forget the routine practices. The stop one is a good one. That's really just a very abbreviated 3-minute breathing space. It's like a 1-minute breathing space. Stop, take a deep breath, observe what's going on, thoughts, feelings, body, and proceed. Remember the routine activities. I think this is still a good way to just really pay attention to what you're doing while you're doing it. There's so many of these things. I think it's really helpful to do that. The stop, sense, appreciate, and go. Remember, just kind of bring a sense of appreciation to the pleasant things, to the beautiful things, to the things that capture your attention and make you smile. Just really, what the word that really sums this up is savor. Savor these things through the senses, okay? And then don't forget mindful eating. There's another link here. I think this one goes to a mindful chocolate exercise, but there's, a classic mindful raisin eating. Really what we're doing, remember, is bringing a beginner's mind to this practice. So try that. It's another great way to continue the informal practices. So we don't have time for this, unfortunately. I wish I had, if we had an hour class, I'd show you this video, but even if you just click into this when I send you the link and just listen to these 5 minutes, she tells a really powerful story about how important listening is, truly listening, rather than so often we have so many distractions and interruptions that we overlook the important things that we need to listen to. So listen as if you're, really listening with both ears. As I said, try to listen so that you're not rehearsing what you're going to say, but really listen to what that person is trying to say. And if you're not sure, reflect back, use active listening, repeat what you've heard to try to clarify. But rather than getting your point across, try to clarify their communication and what you're hearing. And try that in some of your interactions, and take note of how that works with you. So there are 3 more videos if you have time. I didn't even talk about multitasking, but multitasking, this is really a good one. The first one, this is, if you're going to multitask, this is only like 3 minutes, can show you how multitasking can work if you do it properly. 5 ways to be mindful at work. And then energizing breathing is a breathing way. If you're feeling kind of sluggish and tired, this kind of gets the breath and the blood flowing. So those are good ones. The daily practices, so you can try that taking the weight or any of the other ones. Now is the time to practice something that you find helpful, and the informal practice again. And as I said, I'm going to send you my mindfulness plan, well, your mindfulness plan, that you can begin to map out what you're going to do going forward and keep it as a guide, okay? So there's more videos. I know there's a lot this week, and I'm going to send you a couple of mindfulness at work tip sheets. But again, do what you can, and of course, the important thing is to do the practices. These are the links to the meditations, the ones that I've mentioned, and then we have a nice quote here, which I'll let you read as I say goodbye. But thank you very much again for joining me in this week 5. I can't believe that we're almost at the end. Week 6 is next week. We're going to focus in on compassion and self-compassion. And as I said, I'll try to set up a follow-up session down the road a piece, but really that mindfulness plan is so important so that you begin to kind of map out what you're going to do going forward. So thanks so much, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful Friday and weekend, and remember to enjoy yourself, enjoy the practices, and mind the moment. Take good care.